Hyundai Motor posted its best performance in the second quarter, while SK hynix suffered losses, reflecting current market conditions where car demands are high, but chip demands remain in the doldrums. The Korean government and the ruling party agreed to revise the progressive-led Student Human Rights Ordinance to bolster teachers' rights in classrooms in the wake of a recent death of a school teacher. China's outspoken foreign minister Qin Gang, who disappeared from the public eye for a month, is replaced by his predecessor Wang Yi. We take a look at its impact on the Seoul-Beijing relationship. It's July 26, 2023. This is News Center. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. We begin with the stark contrast in performances by Korea's two leading firms. Hyundai Motor posted its best performance in the second quarter thanks to a higher demand for its signature models. SK hynix, on the other hand, suffered losses as global chip demand remains in the doldrums. As our Lee Soo-jin reports, the chip industry expects a turnaround in the second half.
South Korea's auto giant Hyundai Motor and chip maker SK hynix saw contrasting business performances in the second quarter of this year. But both hint that they expect to see more robust global demand in the second half. Hyundai Motor once again saw record quarterly operating profit. In its preliminary regulatory filing released on Wednesday, the company's operating profit surged 42.2% to $3.3 billion during the April to June period compared to the same period the previous year. This is the third consecutive quarter of record quarterly operating profits. Sales came to $33.1 billion, up around 17% on year. The company attributed the growth to robust sales of SUVs, Genesis luxury models, and EVs. The company said it expects continued growth with the increase in production from the stabilization in the global supply of chips and components.
There's more supply than demand for chips, lowering prices, which bodes well for auto companies.
Chip maker SK hynix, on the other hand, posted an operating loss of more than $2.2 billion during the second quarter this year, a stark contrast to the operating profit of more than $3 billion in the same period last year. According to its regulatory filing, its revenue also plunged nearly 50% on year to nearly $6 billion. This marks the first time in a decade that the company recorded operating losses for 3 consecutive quarters. However, there is optimism about its performance in the second half as the generative AI market continues to grow. The second quarter already saw a lower operating loss compared to the first quarter, thanks to the surge in demand for essential components for AI servers, such as high bandwidth memory and double data rate premium products. One expert says this is good news for the nation's exports.
This will have a positive impact on exports. Exports will go up, and the question really is about how much it will go up in the second half.
This is also largely in line with the Finance Ministry's forecast in its Economic Green Book released earlier this month that the slowdown in the economy will ease as exports recover in the latter half. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
The International Monetary Fund has once again lowered its economic outlook for South Korea for this year to 1.4% amid prolonged external uncertainties. Our Yoon explains.
The International Monetary Fund cut its 2023 economic growth outlook for South Korea on Tuesday to 1.4%, down 0.1 percentage point from its previous estimate of 1.5% in April. The Washington-based organization cited uncertainties facing South Korea from both home and abroad, including global monetary tightening measures and weak export figures. The latest forecast is on par with the South Korean government and the Bank of Korea's outlook of 1.4%. However, the Asian Development Bank last week lowered the country's growth outlook to 1.3%, down 0.2 percentage point from its previous estimates. Despite the downward revision of South Korea's economic growth forecast for this year, the IMF kept its estimates for 2024 at 2.4%. In the meantime, the IMF revised up its 2023 global economic growth outlook to 3%, a 0.2 percentage point from its previous estimate. The upward revision comes on the back of the recovery in the service sector, its U.S. debt ceiling woes, and abated concerns over a crisis in the banking sector. However, the IMF warns that the global economy is facing lingering challenges despite near-term resilience, adding the countries around the world should remain their monetary tightening policies. Yoon, Arirang News.
Samsung Electronics is holding its Unpacked event in its home country, South Korea, for the first time. The company hopes to maintain its lead in the growing global foldable smartphone market with the fifth generation of its Galaxy Z Flip and Fold devices with larger screens and slimmer hinges. Our Ji-young has the latest.
It's time for Samsung to woo buyers around the world, but this time starting in Seoul. From major buildings in Gangnam to Namsan Tower, major tourist attractions in Seoul have been lit up with teasers of Samsung Electronics' latest foldable smartphones. This, as Unpacked 2023, takes place in the tech giant's home country for the first time ever. Samsung's mobile chief No Tae-moon said hosting Unpacked in Seoul is of great significance, as the city not only has emerged as the center of innovation and culture, but also foldable smart devices. The event, starting at 8 p.m. Korea time, is streamed live worldwide on its website and YouTube channel, unveiling the fifth generation of its foldable devices, the Galaxy Z Flip 5 and Fold 5. Compared to the previous generations, users of the latest foldable devices will be able to enjoy larger screens and slimmer hinges. Also, a major improvement from its predecessor, a teardrop-style hinge minimizes the display crease. On top of that, they're expected to come with a bigger battery and overall lighter device. During the Unpacked event, new smartwatches and tablets are likely to be released as well. Also, BTS member Suga is likely to attend. He appeared in a video that Samsung uploaded on Twitter expressing high hopes for the new devices. Ji-young, Arirang News.
South Korea's foreign exchange transactions marked an all-time high in the second quarter of the year as foreign investment here increased. According to the Bank of Korea on Wednesday, the average daily foreign exchange transactions hit $69.37 billion. This is up 3.8% from the previous quarter and also the highest figure since 2008. The central bank attributed the rise to increased interbank transactions amid increasing foreign investment and a stable foreign exchange market with reduced currency fluctuations compared to last year. The Kosdaq hit record highs on Wednesday following an investment boom in the rechargeable battery market. According to Korea Exchange, the market cap exceeded 458 trillion won, which is $359 billion at the market opening. The market value for EcoPro BM, a local battery material producer, surpassed 50 trillion won for the first time, topping it as Kosdaq's largest firm by market cap, followed by EcoPro and Celltron Healthcare Company. The Korean government and the ruling People Power Party today came up with new measures to better protect the rights of teachers in the wake of a recent death of a school teacher. One of those is revising the progressive-led Student Human Rights Ordinance. Our political correspondent Lee Si-hoo reports.
The ruling People Power Party and the government vowed in a meeting on Wednesday to push for a revision to current laws and seek the introduction of new laws to better protect the rights of teachers. Among those present at the meeting were Deputy Prime Minister and Education Minister Lee Ju-ho, Presidential Education Secretary Oh Seok-hwan, and PPP floor leader Yoon Jae-ho.
There needs to be social efforts to take full measures to recover and protect teachers' rights before it's too late.
In August, the government and PPP will hammer out a framework clearly defining the scope and methods of teachers' role in monitoring and controlling students' behavior. In addition, there will be manuals to guide teachers in their interactions with students' parents or guardians, both in person, via phone, or online. Also underway is a revision to the Ordinance of Student Rights first adopted by Gyeonggi-do Province back in 2010, which many have criticized for overprotecting pupils while undermining teachers. These moves follow the shocking suicide of a teacher last week in the school in Seoul where she taught.
Because of the incident, the social consensus that we should recover the rights of teachers is stronger than ever.
After the meeting, Representative Lee told reporters that the PPP has proposed, quote, a plan of compromise to the main opposition Democratic Party that requires documenting students' violent behavior toward teachers and placing it on their permanent records. If the DP agrees with this, the revision of the law can take place as soon as possible. The DP, meanwhile, held a press briefing and criticized PPP members on Seoul City's council for stymieing efforts to protect teachers from parents and their, quote, abuse of power.
The introduction of the Ordinance of Teacher Rights by Education Superintendent Cho Hee-yeon last year went nowhere because of the blind opposition of the PPP representatives on Seoul Metropolitan Council.
Meanwhile, the National Assembly Education Committee will hold a meeting on Friday to discuss the matter and review related legislation. Lee Si-hoo, Arirang News.
Population concerns grow at home as the number of births continues to fall to hit a fresh low. The figure for the month of May dipped below the 20,000 mark for the first time. Our Moon Hae-ryun has more.
South Korea's population crisis continues as birth rates continue to fall. According to Statistics Korea on Wednesday, the number of births plummeted to just under 19,000 in May this year. This is the first time the figure has fallen below 20,000 for the month of May since data was first compiled in 1981. And with just under 29,000 deaths in the same month, the population saw a natural decline of nearly 10,000, the highest so far this year. It's the 43rd consecutive month that the country has seen a natural population decline, while the number of births has fallen on year for more than 7 years straight. For May, the number of births fell by over 5% compared to the same month last year. By city, only 3 cities, including Daegu and Ulsan, saw increases in the number of births, whereas 14 other cities, including Seoul and Busan, recorded decreases. The number of registered marriages saw an increase with over 17,000 recorded, up 1% compared to last year. The number of marriages had been on an upward trend in South Korea since August last year as a result of eased COVID-19 regulations enabling people to host larger gatherings. However, the trend ground to a halt in April, falling by more than 8% on year. A spokesperson from Statistics Korea said further observation will be needed to see whether the dip in marriage figures for April was an anomaly, or whether the effect of eased regulations had finally worn off. The number of divorces in May also rose, increasing 0.3% on year. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
South Korea marks the 70th anniversary of the Armistice Agreement on Thursday, and the remains of 7 Korean soldiers who died in the Korean War are returning home today from the United States. The Korean military aircraft carrying the remains arrives at the Seoul Air Base at around 8 this evening. The expected arrival follows an earlier repatriation ceremony at the Hickam Air Force Base in Hawaii, attended by Vice Defense Minister Shin Bum-chul and Admiral John Aquilino, the commander of the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command. Following formalities to mark the arrival of the remains, they will be sent to the Defense Ministry to undergo DNA testing for identification. The remains were sent to the U.S. after Pyongyang in 1990 resumed repatriating fallen soldiers who fought in the war. The nation's former second Vice Foreign Minister Lee Do-hoon has been appointed as South Korea's new ambassador to Russia. The top office made the announcement on Wednesday. The post had been vacant since April, with the former ambassador Chang Ho-jin being appointed as the first vice foreign minister. Lee is a career diplomat who served as the top nuclear envoy for South Korea during Moon Jae-in administration, with experience in multilateral diplomacy. Local reports say that with the war in Ukraine putting strains on Seoul-Moscow ties, Lee could start working in Moscow as early as the end of this month. China's outspoken Foreign Minister Qin Gang, who disappeared from the public eye for a month, has been replaced by his predecessor Wang Yi, who is known for being a friendly policymaker in general toward South Korea. Our Lee Dae-yeon reports on how this may affect relations between Seoul and Beijing.
China's Wang Yi has got his old job back. Beijing's top legislature reappointed on Tuesday former Foreign Minister Wang to be the position he had held for 10 years until 2022. Despite the appointment, Wang will still head the Communist Party of China's Central Foreign Affairs Commission General Office as its top diplomat. Wang is an experienced diplomat who has a deep understanding of the diplomatic relationship with Seoul. Experts say this could be the turning point for South Korea and China to improve the bilateral relationship, which had been drifting for a while.
By reappointing Wang as foreign minister, China appears to have moved its diplomatic policy toward easing Seoul-Beijing relations rather than to pressuring Korea, as Wang has actively communicated with South Korea before.
The 69-year-old visited South Korea at least 5 times from its first inauguration as foreign minister in 2014 and actively communicated with his Korean counterparts on issues regarding the Korean Peninsula, Northeast Asia, and other international matters. From 2019 to 2021, Wang had visited South Korea for 3 consecutive years, showing how Seoul and Beijing sought to overcome the thought crisis and normalize relations. Wang was reportedly scheduled to visit South Korea last year, but with Qin Gang's faster-than-expected appointment as a foreign minister, this had not been settled. Wang had recently met South Korea's Foreign Affairs Minister Park Jin in Indonesia, where he expressed his hope for the two countries' strategic ties to be restored. Now, strengthened diplomatic ties between South Korea and China are expected amid the recent Washington and Beijing decision to stabilize their relationship and the need for Seoul and Beijing to cooperate considering the economic slowdown. One expert says, however, that the Seoul and Beijing relationship is closely connected to U.S.-China ties, meaning that Beijing fighting back against Washington's trade rules by controlling exports of chip raw materials may affect South Korea. Meanwhile, Qin Gang's removal as foreign minister came after less than 7 months in the post. China's state media reported the decision was made during an emergency session of the National People's Congress convened on Tuesday with no reason being given. Lee Dae-yeon, Arirang News.
It appears highly likely that North Korea will hold a large-scale military parade marking the 70th anniversary of the Korean War Armistice Agreement, which it refers to as Victory Day. Citing multiple unnamed government sources in South Korea, it has been reported that the parade could start as early as Thursday at midnight and last for several hours. This as intelligence officials from South Korea and the United States over the past few days have spotted late-night rehearsals at Kim Il-sung Square in Pyongyang, where the North usually stages its military parades. Analysts forecast the event to showcase the regime's nuclear weaponry like intercontinental ballistic missiles and small nuclear warheads. Following Russia's withdrawal from the Black Sea grain deal, the EU seeks to export Ukrainian farm produce via countries bordering that country, which the Union calls solidarity lanes. The IMF says repercussions to global food prices could be significant as well. Our Shin Se-byuk reports.
The European Union is seeking to export Ukrainian grains via what are called solidarity lanes. This is according to the EU Agriculture Commissioner on Tuesday, following Russia's recent withdrawal from the Black Sea grain deal.
The trade using the solidarity lanes by Poland, by Hungary, for example, by Romania. Romania is the biggest transport corridor.
Solidarity lanes are rail and road transport connections through EU member states. To realize the plan, cooperation is needed from 5 countries bordering Ukraine, including Poland, Hungary, and Romania. Russia recently pulled back from a UN-backed initiative that allows Ukraine to safely ship its farm produce through ports on the Black Sea. This could severely harm global food security, as Ukraine, known as the breadbasket of Europe, is amongst the top 3 exporters of grain in the world. In fact, the International Monetary Fund on Tuesday warned that Russia's recent pull from the deal may result in higher global grain prices.
We would be thinking that somewhere in the range of 10–15% increase in prices of grains is a reasonable estimate.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba, in an interview with France 24 on Tuesday, said Ukraine would keep trying to revive the deal. However, he also added if it is not possible, it will seek an alternative sea route to ensure grain exports to Europe. When it comes to new export alternatives, he said Kyiv could use American F-16 fighter jets to protect grain shipping lanes in the Black Sea. Kuleba said Kyiv with F-16s could launch a new, safe, and efficient corridor to export some 100 million tons of Ukrainian grain to the global market. Ukraine is due to receive the jets before the end of this year. 신세벽, Arirang News.
This year's summer monsoon season has officially ended. Now that the monsoonal rain front has moved out of the peninsula, a surge of hot air will start to settle in. Hotter temperatures are expected tomorrow with highs of 31 degrees Celsius in Seoul. Parts of the south, such as Jeonju and Gyeongju, will see more sweltering conditions. A large part of South Korea is still under heat wave alerts. In fact, advisories have been raised to warnings for parts of Gangwon-do and Gyeongsang-do provinces. Extreme heat can lead to heat-related illnesses such as dehydration and even heat stroke. Drink plenty of water and try to stay indoors. Scorching conditions will lead to unstable air, causing widespread showers. Expect about 5 to 60 millimeters. Some regions may see up to 80. Although they will be in the form of scattered outbreaks of rainfall, local downpours are possible. Morning temperatures in Seoul and Gwangju will start off at 25 degrees Celsius. Showers will become more widespread by the daytime. Seoul will get up to 31, Gwangju 33, Gyeongju will be hot at 35 degrees. Central regions will see another round of rainfall this coming Saturday. That's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is News Center for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session coming up.